Tom, how did you find carnivore?
Well, Dave, this is going to go back. This might shock you, okay? But I actually found a type of carnivore back in 1976. Okay, the Atkins diet. Okay, it was meat only at the time, and I said, you know what, that makes sense because I wasn't never a very big vegetable guy. Okay, my heritage is I'm Irish, so naturally the potatoes were there, but wanted to back away from it, not for health reasons or anything else like that. It was quick for me, especially I'm a retired chef, but back then working in restaurants and stuff like that. Before we would get started, I would burn a steak for myself and eat it, and everybody and the topper was put butter on top of it, like Atkins told you to do. And people would look at me like you're out of your mind. Quick little story. I'm the youngest of five, and my older brothers, two of my older brothers, we come on, let's go out for dinner. So the one older brother was actually chief of police. So we went to this one place, and it was all shirt and tie, the whole bit. But my my other brother knew what I was doing, and we sat down, and I just ordered a steak with butter. My older brother looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" Now this is early on. This is like the 80s, maybe, I guess. I get the I get the steak, and he's just like, "You're out of your mind," and like that, but talking really low because it was a pristine place. And what I did, Dave, is I took a little bit of butter and I put it up on my beard and my mustache. So he kept telling me, "You got something?" Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And that was the stigma back there that it was not good. You were going to die of high cholesterol. Okay. Your arteries are going to clog up. The red meat's going to give you cancer. And guess what? You're going to die at an early age. So after that, everybody would tell you that, you know what, you're going to die of high cholesterol. The red meat's no good for you. And we went through that same stigma. Okay. So, back in the day, we had a family business. We had a steak and seafood. So we would do prime rib, filet mignon, New York strips. Also, I did beef ribs, and also we did some pork ribs. All right, but the side of it was the seafood. We had a live seafood, a live lobster tank, and we would do every night. We were open 7 days a week. We would do the 200 pounds of lobster every night, plus shrimp and stuff like that. So it was a high pace, constantly moving the whole bit. So I ate good. Okay. Fast forward again. Now we get up into. I finally left the business because the pay wasn't there anymore. That is when, I don't know if you remember, but that is back in the day when low fat, high carb was to go to. And if you ate meat, you got chastised because there again, you're going to die, And, and looking back on it, I laugh at it now because, why, how wrong were they? How wrong? Dr. Atkins, like I said, he was chastised for it. He was called a kook, the whole 9 yards. Well, fast forward now until, I guess, 2004, 2005. I started looking to retire. I wanted to semi-retire early. 2006, I bought property down in North Carolina. Okay, this was a dream of mine to go down, and I was going to grow herbs, spices, and stuff to sell to restaurants. I bought 17 acres of property in North Carolina. That's why I said I don't. When I moved to North Carolina, people would look at me and say, "You ain't from around here, are you?" So I bought the property, and we were staying with my daughter. I had stuff in storage, and it was just starting. I thought I was getting away from stress. Okay, stress plays an important role in my life right here now. Storage, the whole bit. I get a notice from my attorney that now my house was up for sale for 2 years. I lived on the Jersey Shore. Okay, so I grow up. I get a message from them. They want to close. I got a buyer. They want to close. I get in the truck, drive up. I go back to New Jersey again. I get there. We go to closing, and it was Thursday before Labor Day, 2007. Well, we get everything settled, sign all the papers. The guy says, "Can I move in?" Because we weren't getting any money because the banks were closed over Labor Day weekend. Now, uh, comes that Monday, okay, Labor Day, picnic, and I'm cooking up a storm for everybody. My new North Carolina, family and friends. Tuesday, I get a phone call. Tom, the money never funded for the sale of the house. What do you mean? So that was the beginning of 2008, the crash, the mortgage crash, the banking crash, and all that stuff. So, Dave, I smoked. I was a smoker. Okay. Prior to that, doing the move and everything else like that, I was smoking between 4 and 5 packs a day. Okay. That's 100 cigarettes a day, or 80, depending on how you want to look at it. So, anyway, long story short, I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I just took the cigarettes and threw them away. 2 months later, I start passing blood. What in the world is going on here? Now, the stress, like I said, everything's caving in on me. I can't talk to anybody about the banks and everything like that. So, financially, I'm ruined. Okay. I lost $270,000. So the pressure just keeps eating at you the whole bit. Well, go to the doctor again. Fast forwarding, I go to the doctor. They sent me for all these different scans and stuff, and come to find out I have bladder cancer. So bladder cancer, nobody knows that if you smoke, it can cause bladder cancer. Not just your lungs, but down into the bladder. Nicotine or something that had to do with it. So at this point, I'm devastated. I am like, what do we do? I took a job down there just to get health insurance because I didn't have health insurance. So I go to see the urologist, which he was also an East Coast guy. He was from Connecticut. Okay. Dr. Frank Satora. I never forget this guy as long as I live. So I don't want to get gross or anything like that, but you know how they would do the examination, okay, to get into your bladder. All right. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life. And he said, Tom, I see 4 to 6 tumors in there. We need to take them out. I don't know what you're talking about. What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, we go get it done. Okay. And I was devastated. Now at this point, now, like I said, I had worked at this place that had health insurance for me. Since I had that first surgery, they canceled me. Okay. So now we're going to fast forward again because it's a long, long, long story and I don't want to bore nobody with it. But here I am, okay, with bladder cancer. Now, after 3 months, I should say after 3 years, I would go see the doctor every 3 months and he would do the scope, the whole bit. So after 3 years, I have had 18 tumors removed from my bladder over that course. So now I am like just like done. Okay. The last visit I went to see him, it was in October. Now, I started taking this lady up the street from me. She had a big tumor on her neck, and she got these pills and stuff, or this herb out of Canada. It wasn't sold here in the States. And she said, all they did was they said, Tom, I was on my front porch. I went up to their car. She handed me a bottle of these pills. Okay, it's Indian. It was an Indian thing, the whole bit. So prior to that, I went and seen my doctor, and he said, "Tom, I hate to tell you this, but we got another little one growing right now, and just let's do the 90 days again and come back the whole bit." So I'm at this point, Dave. I'm disgusted with everything. I'm just, and he had told me to go home and get my affairs in order.
And sorry, this is October last year.
No, 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 no. This is back in 2012.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 2012. And I was diagnosed in 2007 with it. So this is like a couple years after that now. All right. So I started taking these pills, and it was just, they were nasty. I don't know no other way to do it. Okay. And for being an herb, but at that point, when you're told to get your affairs in order. So, all right, we started that, and I went back to the doctor 90 days again, again, I think it was in December of 2012. He looked, he was doing the examination. He had the computer so they could see it, and he looked and he went back onto another book and looked back again. There was no tumor. It was gone. Okay, Tom, we're going to start aggressively with your treatment. Okay, so each treatment was 6 weeks long. So I would have to go. It was like a Thursday. I would go, and mind you, I lived out in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina, and this was like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive up there. Anyway, long story short, I start these treatments. So each treatment was 6 weeks long. So now I'm on my sixth treatment. Okay, so that's a year now. Another one goes by. And what they would do is they would shoot this solution into your bladder. Couldn't urinate for almost 2 hours. Okay, that was the drive home. And then you had to just flush yourself with water. Okay, just to get it all back out again. And at the end of that, they would give you a chemo wash. I never knew what that was, but at that point, I didn't care. So now I'm going. Now I've got to go back to start the treatment again. And they come in and they prick my finger. What are you doing? Well, this treatment might cause you some issues. That's all the nurse said. Walks away, comes back, and the doctor comes in. Now I know this guy really well. After all that time, we were very intimate. Let's put it that way. So he comes busting back through the door again. He says, "Tom, you're a type 2 diabetic. I cannot do this treatment anymore for you." Well, wait a minute. What are you talking about? No, he says, your blood sugar is 280. Whoa, 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 whoa. What are you saying? Okay. I'm still trying to get over the fact that he, told me to get my affairs in order. All right. So he says, I'm going to send you to an endocrinologist and a nutritionist. Okay. We're going to see if we can do this way here. He says, because if they come back, I'm afraid we're going to have to take your bladder. So, it's just piling on. So the stress is just like, out of my mind with it. Well, I go see the endocrinologist, I see the nutritionist, and they give me the food pyramid. What are you doing? And I had done some research. Okay. What are you talking about? The nutritionist turns around and tells me to start juicing. Juice what? Can I juice a steak? That kind of stuff. Well, she had me doing apples and beets. Okay. All different kinds of stuff. And I would come out of the bedroom in the morning and be like this, but so dizzy from the sugar, the high sugars. So I said, you know what? This is crazy. So back in that time, keto was just starting to become a thing. Okay. They talked a little bit about carnivore, but I already knew that Atkins, they didn't call it carnivore back then, but they sort of pushed Atkins away because they said he was nuts, okay, with his diet and stuff. So I started looking at this, and I said to my wife, you know what, I'm going to go see my one doctor, but I'm not going back to this endocrinologist. So now they put down a boatload of medications. All right. So in the interim, I said, you know what, I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to live out the rest of my life down in Florida. Be a beach bum or whatever. Not really a beach bum, but so we pack up. We put the house up for sale there, and we moved down to Florida. So now down in Florida, and I'm starting to still taking that pill for the bladder cancer. And my doctor, before I left, he says, I'm going to recommend you to a guy down in Florida. Okay. He says, very good. Matter of fact, I went to school with him, and we'll take it from there. So I went and seen the doctor, and he said to me, Tom, you're clear. I don't see any signs of any of this stuff here. Okay. So I said, that's a good thing. I said, what about the diabetes? You're going to have to go see another doctor with that. He said, but we just did your blood, and it's through the roof. All right. So I went from cancer, get your life in order, or your affairs in order, to now I'm stuck with um, diabetes. But then right now, Dave, I'm starting to gain weight. geez, all of a sudden I was up to 312 at one point. So I started checking out different with keto and different stuff like that. And I started it. Once I dive into something, I jump, full body. So next thing you know, 3 weeks later, I lost 40 pounds. And I'm looking at the scale, I'm saying, this is crazy. All right. I was so big that moved into a 55 and older in Florida. I was so big, I would go down to the pool, and all the ladies would stand around me to get the shade. You know what I mean? That's how big I was. But then I started losing and energy, feeling good. All right. And it wasn't vegetable. I didn't do a lot of vegetables. Like I said, I don't really particularly care for a lot of vegetables. But I'm grilling meats and steaks and all different types of stuff like that, seafood, the whole bit. And I'm saying, hey, there's something to this. Until the light switch goes off. All right. Oh, why can't I have a slice of pizza? Why can't I have a burger with the bun? Come on. Okay, so you in and out of it, in and out of it, in and out of it. So I did that for a while, on and off, on and off. My blood sugars dropped, everything started dropping, but nothing reversed. So, like they said they were. So right away, I didn't get skeptical. What I did was I said, I got to drill down on this and I got to stop. I got to get my head clear about what I'm doing with this. In the meantime, my daughter moves out here to Las Vegas, and my grandsons, I was really close to my grandsons. Matter of fact, my second grandson was born the day before I had my first surgery. Okay, so he was born, and I'm holding him. I got pictures, and you can see, just this. I got to work hard to keep this little guy going here, with Pop. Long story short, we come out here to Las Vegas. The bug hits, everybody shut down, and me and my wife are sitting here, and I'm looking at her, and I'm saying, I'm not feeling good. I just don't feel good. My joints, back then I was 65 years old when I got out here. My joints are killing me. Okay, I was getting blotches on my face. Okay, because you're out here in Vegas, you want to go eat. Go to different places. You don't be restricted. So I went hardcore, and what I did was that was in 2020. I was making dinner here one night. My grandson was here, who now is at that time was like 10. He's got his phone and he's taking pictures of me cooking. He said, "Pop, you should do a YouTube channel." I said, "Okay, what's a YouTube channel?" I had no clue. You know what I mean? So that's how my career in YouTube started. But here was the transformation. I jumped hardcore and I went from like 200 to 230 of blood sugars down in, I would say, 2 or 3 months down to 110, where it's supposed to be. Okay. And I want to stress this a lot right now. I would go to the doctor. I met a new doctor out here, and I went to a DO. So he was a little bit different than an MD. He would take like a more holistic that I thought that way. So as soon as this is funny because as soon as I walked in to the office and sat down, and then a couple minutes later he comes in, real tall, thin guy. All right, had these crazy looking glasses on, and yeah, hi, Mr. Garvey, how you doing? Nice to meet you, and all bubbling the whole bit. So I said, before we get any further, Doc, I said, I just want to let you know, okay, that I'm strict keto. Okay, I said, and if I feel I get a little out of line, I'll go for 2 weeks strict carnivore. He said, "Whoa, are you nuts?" I said, "No, are you?" Okay, so he turns around and says to me, "Well, typically," he said, "I can tell that," and the old phrase comes into play here: "You are what you eat." So in other words, he just called me fat. Okay, I don't play games like that. I said, "I agree. I totally agree." I said, "You remind me of a tall stalk of celery." So from that point on, we would banter back and forth. Just keep going back and forth. So just before he left, I would go in. I refused to go get blood work. I said, that's like bringing a Tesla into a garage for a tune up. It's impossible. It don't work. So you're telling me that my cholesterol's high, and naturally I eat high fats. Okay. And it's gonna go that way. And I'm not doing the blood work. Well, how do I know what your A1C is? I just stick my finger and figure it out. They never did that. They would never do that. And you know yourself, Dave, the game was you go to the doctor, the scale is all the way at the end of the building. Okay. They would walk you down to the end of the building, get up on a scale, okay, then walk you all the way back up to the front office. You'd go in, sit down, and they would take your blood pressure. Not only would they do your blood pressure, but they would do it over your sleeve. Look at it, next thing you know, whoa, you're 145 over 80. That's high. I said, you just took me around the track for crying out loud. I said, let me take your blood pressure. All right. So it was kind of comical. So he would come in the office. Hey, Mr. Garvey, how you doing? I said, hey, Dr. Pinocchio, how are you? He said, Pinocchio? What's that all about? I said, you're lying to me every time I come here. Okay, all you want to do is prescribe me something for something I don't have. Okay, and on top of it, you're not fixing anything. I said, I've been through this routine for 20 years now. Your method has not fixed anything. Okay, all I want you to do is whatever pills I need to stay on. So I was on 12 pills. All right. And then I went from 12 pills down to 3. 2 I have to stay on because one of the medications, they won't acknowledge it. But one of the pills gave me AFib. Okay. Can't get around it now. So and then also they put a stent in and they told me it was, well, you know what? While we're here, okay, we're going to put one in for preventative maintenance. And I said, I'm still groggy and stuff. And I said, well, why? What was was it like 90% or something like that? He said, no, you were more or less like, 45 to 60%. Come to find out, that's illegal. You just can't do that no more. But I'm not that type of guy to go chasing anybody for that. It is what it is. But they got me another medication that is one of the most expensive ones you can get. Okay. And I'm on them 2 and a blood pressure pill, which I'm going to get rid of pretty soon. So, and basically that's where I'm at right now today.
Right. And so you're feeling much better. I mean, you're calling you're calling that doctor Dr. Pinocchio. So I guess like you're feeling pretty good about the direction you're going, yeah?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. Nobody could put me in that place where I'm at right now. No, any specialist, any cardiologist. And here's the other funny thing: it's money. It's all about the money. Okay. I go to see the cardiologist. What's the first thing they do? Is they sit me down and give me an EKG. Okay. Then they get a copay, $125. The last time I had it done a couple of years ago, I said, You're better than any casino here on the strip, the way you're collecting money with people coming in." And it's the truth. All right. And here's the rule. Okay. Get you on an old guy like me. Okay. Get you on your Medicare, which goes up every year. They don't do nothing else for you. Okay. Assign you a doctor, or you go to a doctor. Okay. 10 or 15 minutes in the office. Let me refill your pills, or you might need to start taking this one. Okay. I want you to go get tests. I want you to go get tested for colonoscopy and chest X-rays and all this stuff like that. No, I'm sorry. No. And anybody out there in your audience, don't. This is me. This is just me. I'm not a doctor, or I'm fed up. Is what I am. I'm fed up. And the whole thing is what we do every day, constantly we do every day, is eat foods. So I look at doing carnivore and doing keto. I work the 2 of them together. I guess they call it ketovore or whatever. But I eat what I want to eat when I'm hungry. Okay, that means a nice steak, burgers, whatever. I don't eat a lot. So I lost 72 pounds from my journey to start to where I am now. I went from 12 medications down to three. I'm going to jump off of one more. Now, I'm not telling people to do that, but question when you go to the doctor, question them. As soon as they come in, start hitting them with stuff. What are you doing about this? What are we going to do about that? Okay. Today's my birthday, so I just turned 71 years old. Okay. I, I have no aches and pains. All right. I walk with a cane because I broke my leg back in 2014, and they didn't fix that right, but that's just me saying. But now I carry the cane in case somebody gives me a hard time. I can't run no more. So, but that's my way of thinking. Dave, here's how I look at it. I know everybody. I got in trouble for this a while back for saying this, but I believe it wholeheartedly. Sugar and carbohydrates is the worst addiction that we have around the world. Okay, I will put it up against alcoholism. Alcoholism is a choice. Okay, I'll put it up against cigarette smoking. That's also a choice. Okay, but as far as sugar addicted, it's all around us. No matter what we do, there's some kind of sugar, some kind of carbohydrate that's in the foods that and they say no, it's sugar free. Wrong answer. Uh, there's like 200 or 260 or 270 different names for sugar. So you look at the back of a label and you start reading the label and saying, "Wow, this got all this different stuff in it." Put it down, put it away. So my thing on my channel is and I call it keto clean eating. All right, no box. The only thing I get from a can it might be tomatoes. Okay, especially if I can't get fresh in the store. Now, when I do cook, you'll see smaller portions of vegetables. And usually on my videos, usually the end result, what you see, is for my wife. Okay. And I'll just have whatever we're having, burgers, chops, whatever. And that's basically what I eat. Do I eat vegetables? Yeah. I don't like a lot of vegetables. From when I was a kid, I hated vegetables. Couldn't stand them. Okay. But I tell you what, let me sit down with a rack of lamb. I'll play you a song on them bones when I get, well, as I'm eating them. But the bottom line is, like I said, the addictions it's real. Okay. I had a lady, she contacted me. She said, and friend of the family's, but I haven't talked to her in years. She says, "Tom, I'm like 200 and some pounds. I just found you on YouTube." She says, "Can you help?" I said, "Listen, as far as I'm concerned, this is individual. There's a lot better people out there than me that can explain to you. All I do is on my channel is I show you how to cook. All right, this is it. Low carb, all right, or zero carb, and this is the different ways you do it. I'll make gravies, okay, go along with a roast, and I'll use avocado for thickening rather than you know um, flowers or other stuff like that. I'm true to myself and I'm true to everybody out there because I don't want to. I'm not that guy to turn around and say, "Well, I'm sorry, but I didn't do that." I'll own up to whatever I have, whatever went wrong or something like that. So 3 days later, she must have did some searching around the internet and everything, and she calls me. She says, "Hey, Tommy," she says, "I'm just asking, do you know anything about fat bombs?" I, what are you doing? Too soon. I said, "Here's the problem. You need 90 days, okay, to do this. You got to get the addictions out of your head. They'll never go away, by the way, okay? You'll always have that, boy, how can I make this thing. And I said, "You're 3 days into this. You're looking for fat bombs." I said, "I can't help you. I'm sorry, but I just can't help you. It's individual. You're gonna do this. This is long term. It is very sustainable. I've been doing 7 years. I've been on keto carnivore 7 years now. Hard, clear. Before that, I was doing back and forth and stuff like that, but I was hurting myself, as far as the type 2 diabetes and stuff like that. But that's my basically that's my story. I there again, I don't preach it on my channel. Okay, I just show you. Here's what it is. The other problem I have, and I'm not going to say too much more about this. What I'm going to say is somebody influencers that are on YouTube. Okay, um, I wish they would watch what they're saying and what they're doing. Okay, in other words, products, pushing products out there. Okay, that this is complete keto. This is complete carnivore. And then you look into it, they're not. I guess they feel better or something that they're getting something from this big corporation that's sending them out these different drinks or powders and stuff like that. They're all processed. It's processed food that they're pushing out. I seen one with this one. And I don't mention names because I don't want to, nothing to bother you or anything like that. But there's certain things out there that I look at and I'm saying, and I turned them down. I knew, no, I don't do that. A banana drink. Banana's like, it's like a lethal injection for me, and, and they're pushing this stuff. Well, this is what I use. I use this 2 or 3 times. Okay, so maybe if they don't have type 2 diabetes is one thing. But doing that kind of stuff, that processed food, is the problem. They're winning. They're making money on it. We're trying to get the word out to stay away from that stuff. And then you get influencers out there that are pushing it, saying that it's keto or that it's carnivore. I don't understand it. So I guess I'm getting old.
The I guess the thing is, as you were, as you told your friend, like this is the journey that has to be, very, very unique to you. And I
Mhm.
think the best starting point for everybody is not to incorporate anything that's in any way processed or in any way ultra processed. It just needs to
Yeah,
be, yeah, did it have a face? Okay, well then, or come from something with a face, then I'm going to eat it.
yeah. I mean, and the bottom line is, like I said, I understand that it is very hard. Okay, to get started with it, jump right in both feet. No, I think you should just take your time. I always tell everybody, listen, this is not an easy task to get your health back. Okay, you have to do this yourself. Don't depend on a doctor. Don't depend on anybody telling you about. I can tell you 1,000 different ways of starting this. You got to do it. You got to turn around. You got to turn around and say, well, you know what? I'm sick of being pills. I'm sick of walking with a walker. I live in a 55 and older out here in Las Vegas. Gated community, nice place. Okay, you go up by the pool, nobody in the pool, and it gets 120 degrees here in the summertime. Why ain't there nobody in the pool? They can't get there because they're using walkers, canes, and poor diet. Very poor diet. And I turned it around. I spun it right around. Hey, I could fit right in there with an electric cart and drive all over the neighborhood, but that's not me. Okay, we're all gonna die. I just ain't going now. Right? And because of that, I'm sorry. So
Mhm.
on my channel, I like to just cook and show people different ways how to do it. And you know what, Dave? You know what the other problem was with the influencers? Um, Making these different like, keto. There's no such thing as keto bread. There is no such thing as keto cakes. Okay, all the alternative sugars. Okay, when you take monk fruit and you put it in your mouth, your liver does not know it's monk fruit. Okay, all of a sudden, insulin reminds me of Barney Fife on Andy Griffith Show. Panic. Okay, insulin's going all over to see what the problem is. Right? And it's just it's now it's easy for me. It's like riding a bike. We get up in the morning. My morning starts as far as eating is concerned is probably between 10 and 12. I'll have a couple scrambled eggs with hot sauce. Come to find out, probably about 10 years ago, I also found out that I was allergic to eggs. So when people turn around and say, "Oh, I can't have it, I'm allergic to it," but you got to dig deeper. You got to do more research and dig deeper in it. So it wasn't the yolk; it was the white. So white is the nucleus around it, protecting the yolk, and it's got all this different bacteria and stuff. I would blow up like the Michelin Man and not know what it was from eating a fried egg, sunny side up or whatever. But I wasn't giving up. I liked them. All right, and especially especially doing this right now. So I'd make scrambled eggs, but I'd make them well done, a little bit more, or an omelet or something like that. Once I cooked everything, it was fine. It was no problem. The moral of the story is don't quit. Check it out. Do alternatives if you can. Add some water to it, whatever. Just moving on from there. But yeah, I mean, it's easy once you get into it. You get that mindset. You got to clear your brain.
Mm. So sorry to interrupt. You
No,
have that meal about 10 or 12, and then are you eating again?
yeah. Then what I'll do is I'll make a video, okay, for the channel. All right, and then that's what we'll eat, and that usually is around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 7 o'clock, I shut everything down. Okay, that was the big thing for me too, Dave. Going back in time after the snacks. Okay, and people don't realize. Oh, well, you can have pork rinds. Well, you can't eat a whole pig of pork rinds. You can't eat the whole thing. You get a little serving. You got to take a little bit, okay, just to satisfy it and walk away from it. And then people say, I read about this intermittent fasting. Yeah, what about it? Well, I started eating at this time and I had to end it. Eat till you're full. Go to bed. Wake up in the morning. Coffee, whatever. Don't eat until you are hungry. Listen to your belly go that, and then eat. Simple. It is really simple. When I first started doing them, when I realized to get away from that, I was one of them on that wheel. Okay, well, I got to make this. I got to get that. I got to go buy grass-fed steak, beef. No, you don't. Here in America, all right, we are raised on uh, finished beef. Grain finished beef is what we're raised on. Same thing with pork. Same thing with chicken. So to turn that around, your stomach. Everybody. Personally, I don't like it, but living in North Carolina, cows all around me. I would get the farmers would not cut the steaks up and stuff like that just because they were small, not the same size as the beef we're looking for. But they would take it and grind the whole thing up so we'd have beef, okay, burgers and stuff like that. That's how they do it. So grass fed to me is another marketing tool that they use that you want to go on carnivore? You got to get grass fed. Okay, you get your driver's license, you want to get a car. Do you get a Bentley right off the bat? No, you get a Volkswagen or something. Okay, that's the same. That's the mentality that I have. Don't shoot for the stars right away because you're going to hurt yourself. You're not going to be able to do it. Slow and steady wins the race. You know, um, and as far as like I said, I'm up there now. As far as my aches and pains and stuff, they're gone.
Mm.
They're gone. I have people ask me about my hair. How much? What kind of dye do you use? I said olive oil. That's what I use. That's what I use. it's. I'm tired of hearing the negativity about it. All right, and it's time, like I said, at shows like yours, it's time that we get the word out and press the medical field. You know exactly what's no. This is wrong. You know, grains and stuff like that. I mean, come on, come on. It's been proven.
Yeah. Have you been back to see Dr. Celery recently?
He left. Actually, he left. Okay, so I got another guy to come in, younger guy, seems to be okay, understands. Well, let's put it this way: I think he was informed that when my appointments are ready, they want me to bring my wife in with me, so we can do both of us at the same time. So they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear me ragging about them. So. And it's a shame because, like I said, Pinocchio, why are you lying to people? Dave, I was there 2 weeks ago to the doctor, And there again, want me to go get blood work? I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. You're going to point out cholesterol. We know that. Okay. I'm going to point out all the other stuff. I am a type 2 diabetic, so my A1C is going to be up there. All right. I'll come see you when I hurt, when something's bothering me. Right now, I'm living my best life. And please, anybody out there, don't. I mean, I'm doing this because of me. I'm doing it. There again, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I know what goes on with me, and I know what works for me. You got to get yourself in that position, also.
Right. And just when you say you are a type 2 diabetic, I mean, I guess, and you haven't had any like A1C checks or anything like that recently, but I mean, it must be under control by now with the way you're eating. You're not taking any insulin or metformin or anything like that, no?
No, all right, let me go back a little bit back to Florida. I'm in Florida, and I decided to go hog on a carnivore, strict carnivore. Okay, I started eating. Now I'm like I said, retired chef, and I got all kinds of grills and everything outside my in my backyard. I got ovens and all that stuff. So every night I'm having steak every night, burgers every night. Well, second week into it, all of a sudden my stomach is, wow, what's going on? Running in and out to the bathroom, and I have to talk gross or anything. I'm in and out of the bathroom. So people don't realize that when you eat beef or you eat meat, strict meat, 90% of it gets absorbed. Okay, whatever else is not, out it goes. So your bowel movements, now you have no, the other myth. Okay, now you have no what do they call that? I can't even think of it anymore. Fiber. Okay, in your system. So now your bowel movements changed. I'm a month into it. Stomach is on fire. What in the world is going on? Same eating habits, eggs, 10, 11, and at 4 or 5 at night, nice steak. Retired life was good. Go to the doctor. I told you that red meat, you can't be doing that red meat. See, I can't let that go. All right. And for 10 or 15 minutes, talking to somebody's there supposed to help you, and I'm not getting any results. So I dive in to the computer. Okay. Well, come to find out, what causes a lot of stomach upset is metformin. It's one of the one side effects. May cause diarrhea. See, they put may up. All right. There's no other holding back. All right. No, it does cause that. And then over time, you get used to it. Okay. That was the push away from carnivore because of that pill. A couple of the other medications that I was on. So I was chasing my tail between cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, okay, one or two other pills. I mean, and there you go. Right. So come to find out, this one medication I was on, I don't want to mention it. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to persuade anybody, whatever, actually causes AFib. Okay. First thing on the thing, causes AFib. So I'm stuck with that battle. But if you don't do the research, if you don't go and look, this is you we're talking about, okay? Personal. You got to take care of yourself. Nobody else gives a damn, one way or the other. They'll look for clicks and likes and subscribes and stuff on there, but it's not helping you. It's just their way of doing it. Like my stuff. I put it up. I don't preach about it. Well, you got to do this to stay on keto. No, this is how you cook. Okay, if you want to do this lifestyle, a little bit of vegetables if you want. You don't have to have it, and different types of how to get around not having gravies, not having sauces and stuff. Using all the right components to sustain it is basically what it is. Now, people call me a hypocrite because they do have another channel, and it's the Sunday Dinner Chef, and that what that is I cook things from the past that I did from the restaurant. So, oh, you're a hypocrite. You do tell people about keto, this and that, and here you're cooking, making homemade pastas and stuff like that. My wife eats it all. Number one. Number two, I didn't realize, Dave. I did not realize on my algorithm, okay, the audience I have. 25 to 44. I was like blown away. I was waiting for some old geezers and people. Let's watch that fat guy cook. One of them deals. So I started my grandson. He says to me, "Pop, you gotta do this video. I don't know how to cook, and I want to learn all your stuff." So that's when I started. To me, Sunday dinner was the biggest thing in my life growing up as a kid. It's when everybody came together, and that's gone. That is just completely gone nowadays. Nobody sits down, and if they do, to roll on their phone. So that's the reason why I do that. But I cook everything. Every once in a while, I'll throw a curveball in there and make it completely carb free, and people don't realize it. So then that was the other channel right there. So
Oh, wow. So if people want to find your channels, how can they get you on YouTube?
I'm at Tom Garvey the Keto Cook, and the other channel is the Sunday Dinner Chef, and that's it. I got two other ones, but I don't. They're kind of small, and I just use them for putting stuff up to see how it's going to work and stuff, like more or less like research. My wife and I have a channel together where we talk about, and that's where this guy comes in. Get off my lawn, about all the old people, about the tricks and stuff like that. What you do, but we do sit down and chat about our diets and stuff. So I mean, there's
Right.
nothing wrong with my wife. Nothing. She
Mm.
don't take a pill, anything, and she'll go with me and for maybe a month, drop a little bit of weight. But then she's Italian. She likes her pasta and she likes her salads and stuff like that. I knock yourself out. I'm good with it.
Yeah. But she's obviously happy for you, the way you're eating and the way you're doing now relative to before, yeah?
Yeah. When that doctor told me to get my affairs in order, that was a wake up call to no end. Um, I was 52, 54. All right. I mean, come on. What are you talking about? But he understood where I was heading. Um, he knows from being up East Coast and stuff like that, how we ate and this and that. And we talked about different restaurants that we would go to. Dave, I would get done cooking at night. I'd start 10 in the morning and go to 2 o'clock in the morning. We had a huge place. But then after that, I'd get in a car, drive into New York City, into Lower Manhattan, Little Italy, and then do destructiveness to my body. Eat all kinds of crazy stuff, or go in and have a cappuccino with a couple of cannolis and sfigatello and all kinds of Italian pastry in there, and then feel really bad and didn't realize that it was a problem. So
Just out of interest, since you've been eating this way, um, how how has your sleep been and how is your oral health?
good. I mean, I was in a car accident, so I had some teeth that I had to have recapped and stuff. I sleep like a baby. I usually I'll go in maybe 9 o'clock or so like that. 11 o'clock I'm done. I'm out like a light, and then I'm up at 8:30 in the morning. So I get my sleep through. Um, Being that I had the bladder cancer, I had urinating quite a bit. Okay. I was also told that in my one kidney, I had a 3.2 centimeter cyst in my kidney. That's a pretty good size one. So keep an eye on that. But I salt everything. You know, um, just to keep everything going. I take some supplements. Like I said, I take that Ojibwa, which is the stuff from Canada, for just the tumors. Whether that really worked or not, I don't know. I take magnesium. I take D3K K2. All right, and then I take this stuff called Tudka. I only take it maybe for a couple times, and that's just to keep my pancreas and everything. Gets the bile salt, gets everything moving again without being sluggish. Because Dr. Celery put me on Trulicity. Okay, A1C is not coming down. It seems like you're not You're there, but you're not all the way. So we want to push it. So I got these shots, and I agreed. He's got the sheepskin. I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I started doing these shots. So there was 4 levels. Okay. So you do them for the month. You get four needles every Friday. Boom, in my stomach, and didn't do nothing. Didn't move the numbers whatsoever. Get a little bit further, upgraded it. Okay, to the next level. Did that for a month. Did nothing. Upgraded again. Did nothing. Okay, so this whole time now, this was a trial, and Eli Lilly was sponsoring, and I was getting the medication for nothing. Okay. The last grade was, the highest one you could get, and I started popping them every Friday until I think it was 2 weeks into the new one. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I was bound up, felt sick to my stomach. My side was on fire. All right, and I was just felt like it was horrible. Take my blood sugar, pew, through the roof, and this is supposed to drop it down. So I called Celery. I said, "Hey, listen, this is ridiculous. I'm not taking this stuff no more." Oh, wow, really? Did that to you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I stopped taking them. Dave. Ever since then, I've been having issues with my stomach. With, not necessarily, but just every once in a while. And my blood sugar is not normal. It's like 140 and up, in between 140 and 200. Okay, which ruined me as far as I'm concerned. So, you got to be really careful. You got to question everything, and I'm afraid for a lot of people out there who are using Ozempic and the other stuff and not being monitored, because you get now you see online you get it for nothing, the whole bit like that, and I feel bad for them because you know what, side effects, it's still up in the air. There's no studies on this whatsoever. So I think it's sad that it's all about the money. Everything we do is about the money.
Yeah, it always comes back to that, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah. Um, so, well, I'm happy to hear that you're doing so much better, Tom, and do need to say on camera, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. I
Um,
appreciate it.
so 71 today.
71. Yeah,
Nice. So I'll link to your YouTube channels in the show notes.
appreciate it.
And look, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And like I said before, it's very important what you're doing.